All right, here we're going to work on Excel activity number 11, which is very similar to what we've done previously. And even one thing that I had to do when I opened up this file, I saw something that looked kind of like this. So you may have to come and click on your scroll button and scroll over to the left, and you may also have to scroll up. But remember, you could come up here to your name box. I've not talked too much about this box, and you could be over here. You know, when you open a file, I mean, you could be way down here in cell AK131, and if the easiest way to get back to the first cell is to type in A1 in the name box and hit enter, and then it's going to automatically take you back. So I have had a couple of students that have asked about that. They've had that issue, and again, I think it's because when I saved the file and presented it to you, the exact position that everything was in when I presented it to you, that's the way you get it. So I may have done that inadvertently, but it's a good lesson to learn. So one thing I do want you to know about this activity is once we complete it, you're going to come back later on and use this worksheet to create a chart for Excel Activity 15. So we'll do that later on, but we're going to go ahead and finish this one. So we've already got our comments displayed from the last activity. So if you need to, you can go and click Review and then Show Comments. And again, something else that I need to do a better job of remembering is you need to make sure that you can collapse or expand the ribbon, this button right here. If you click it, and that showed the comments actually. And again, you know, I am learning the online version myself. So now that I made that go away, let me close that out. And again, I don't mind you seeing me struggle my way through this, because if I'm struggling through it, I am pretty certain that you're going to struggle through it. So I'm going to go through, let's see here, I'm going to look under the View tab, and it's not there. Okay, I'm going to go under the Home. Okay, so under the Home tab, if I click that, it looks like that it's pinned, where if I click this button right here, I can expand the ribbon. And so if instead of it being an arrow like what I was expecting, it changed to a pin. And so basically what you're saying is you're pinning this to the entire and again, I went back under the Home tab and I clicked this pin button, which again, usually, if you look at how this is phrased, it says expand the ribbon. Usually anytime you talk about expanding something, you're using arrows, but this is a pin, which means you're going to pin it and have it always displayed. So again, these are little things that you may think are rather trivial, but again, I think they're worth explaining. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this. I'm going to display my comments again. I closed them out and trying to figure all that out. So I say I got a comment right here, and it says to format all dollar amounts in B7 through D18 as currency. All right, so remember one of the things that I've showed you previously, if you go ahead and select these cells right here and format them as currency right here, then all of these cells will automatically be formatted as currency as well. And you don't even necessarily have to select these cells as well. It's going to automatically happen. So I'm going to go ahead and select these cells and click Home tab. And I'm going to go ahead and format these as currency, which means I got to click the number selector, click this arrow. I got to go down again and select currency. And it automatically, currency format automatically shows 2 decimals. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in a formula to calculate our projected growth. And a lot of companies will want to know, you know, they'll have an idea of what their projected growth rate is, and they're trying to plan for the future. So this is a company that's looking for a possible 15% growth. And the way I've set up this format, this spreadsheet, one other thing you got to realize is I've got the number 15 in a cell by itself because I want to be able to create a formula. You don't want to put the words projected growth 15% all in one cell and merge it together, because then you're not able to isolate a number that you would want to be able to change its contents of and see what would happen if that number were to change. And again, this will make more sense to you once I go through it and change it and just actually let you see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to this cell, and it says the sales this year times the projected growth percentage. Okay, so what we want to do, and it also says use an absolute reference, and we've done that in a previous activity, and you're going to have to do it here as well. So we're going to put in a formula. All formulas start with an equal sign, and it's our sales amount for this year. So all you got to do is click on that cell, and then it's going to be times. And you got to click on this cell right here, and that is cell C6. Now, again, you got to remember that in the directions I told you to use an absolute reference, which is putting a $sign in front of the column letter and the row number. And there is an easier way to put this in. I accidentally hit enter, so let me go back and try this again. I've got to get this on the C6. I've got to get the $sign in front of the column letter and the row number. And I think I just did the same thing again. There we go. So again, this one has to say B7 times $C$6, because what's going to happen is when I copy this formula down, we want it to always look in cell C6. We don't want it to change down from, typically when we copy a formula down, the column letter, or in this case the row number, would change as well, and we don't want it to. So let me just now come over here and grab this fill handle, and this comment keeps showing up. So let me turn off my comments. Again, these are things that you may run into. So I want that comment to go away. Okay, so I was able to grab it this time. When I closed out that comment window, I was able to sneak up on it from behind and close that out. But then I just drag this down here, and then my projected growth is automatically calculated for all these other cells. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to calculate my sales for next year. So this is the sales for this year plus the projected growth. So all we're going to do is to add these two cells together. And all formulas start with an equal sign. And it's this cell plus this cell. So now I want to come over here. And again, you know what, this might be an opportunity to show you a different way to do this, if I can do this on the online version. So give me just a moment and let me take a look here. And again, I'm used to the full desktop version of this, and I don't see what I'm looking for on here. Yeah, so apparently we're going to have to do it using the drag feature. So again, I snuck up on it from behind, from the bottom, and I'm going to drag this over here. Okay. So now the next one over here is this cell. It's the total sales for this year divided by the total. It's the sales for this year divided by the total sales for this year. And if I remember correctly, that's actually an error. So let me pause briefly. Okay, it's not actually an error. It's just I got to change the order in which I was going to perform these steps. I have to do these yellow cells down here next. So down here in the yellow cells, I've got comments on here that I just want to put in a sum function of the cells that are in the range directly above. And because this cell right here is going to be a part of this formula over here, so we've got to have this one done before we can do these gray cells. So we're just going to come over here and now, because I've got this blank row in here, I can either delete the row, or I'm going to actually do this a little bit differently because I want you to be careful in doing this. We want the sum function, and I'm just going to put in equal sign, and I want to type in sum. And by the way, you see when I type in sum how you see a list of all of the formulas or the functions that are built into Excel. It opens up for you. And by the way, this is one of the big differences, if I haven't explained it early. There is, on the desktop version, there is a function arguments box that is extremely helpful, that will kind of walk you through and give you examples of how you could put these functions in these cells, where in this online version, I don't think that's an option. Matter of fact, we'll do this and then we'll check it. So we're just going to do a sum function, and we want to get at the sum of these cells. So we just click, hold, and drag to select them, or you can look at it and type in B7 colon B16. You're going to get the same result, and you do have to put in the closing parentheses. So I'm going to hit enter. Now, again, for some of y'all, this is a hashtag, but remember, when you see this on a spreadsheet, it means that the column is too narrow to display the contents of that cell. So we're going to have to make column B wider. So we can double click on the right border of column B, and then it will automatically fit this, change the width of this column to fit the width of the longest entry. And then we want to drag the fill handle over here. And by the way, if the comments, I want to drag through the other yellow cells. I should have told you that the comments really could just be deleted. Once you get the formula in there, you could just delete the comment if it's an issue. You can delete the thread, I believe, and that'll make it so that it's not difficult to grab these fill handles and copy down. So anyway, so we get the same message over here that this column is too narrow, so we need to do the same thing with column D. And you see the total there. So now we could come over here and do this, because the function or the formula is the sales for this year divided by the total sales of this year. So basically what we're wanting to find out is what percentage of all of our sales was attributed to each of these services. So what percentage of our total sales went to weekly basic cleanings, or bi-monthly basic cleanings, or monthly or biannual, so we're just wanting to find out what percentage what this was. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to put in a formula. All formulas start with the equal sign, and it's the sales for this year, and then it's divided by the total sales for this year. And every one of these formulas, when we copy this formula down, we need to be looking in cell B18, which means, again, we need to add an absolute reference to this. Now, I have previously typed in the $ manually, but if you hit your function 4 key, which is the F4 key, if you're doing this with a standard keyboard, it should automatically put in an absolute reference if you hit it one time. So I just clicked the function 4 key, the F4 key, top row of my keyboard, and it automatically put this in as an absolute reference. And then I get a number of 0.208, and the directions said to change this as a percentage. To 2 decimals. So we're going to come up here and we're going to click this percentage button under the number group, and we do want to make this 2 decimals. So we need to click in my case, we need to hit the increase decimal button 2 times. And now I'm going to sneak up behind this from the bottom and then just drag it through here. And again, I need to double click to auto fit this column to fit the width. And notice how down here this number equals 100, which, don't be surprised anytime you're doing something where you're taking percentages and then you're adding them up. Don't be surprised if sometimes this didn't equal to exactly 100%, because when you start rounding numbers, now here, we're going out to 2 decimals, so there's not going to be any rounding issues because you're going out to 2 decimals. But if this were at no decimals, you might see this number equal up to 101, or you might see it equal up to 99 or some other number, because all of these numbers are getting rounded, and then when you add those up, they may be rounding up or down, causing that to happen. So now I want to click on this cell right here, and again I want to go under the editing button and I want to click the clear all button for that one cell. And then again, a couple little changes I want to make. I want to select cells A5 to E6, and we want to click the align center button to get all that text in the center. And then we want to merge and center A1 through E1. And then we want to apply the cell style of title. And then we want to select A3 to E3. And we want to apply the cell style of 20% accent 1 on the shade of light blue. And I forgot to merge and center. We want to do that as well. And again, this is one of those issues where the order in which we do it, it doesn't really matter. But that is it for this particular activity. So you are free to move on to the next activity. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.